The anime begins on a night after work. We meet Douki and his faceless senpai. These two by mistake arrived at the same hotel, and they were put in the same room. So the senpai wants to go to another hotel, but Douki tells him that there is no problem, so they go to the same room. Douki gets on the bed, and the senpai stares at Douki's beauty. She tells him that if he tries anything, she will tell him about it on social networks. So she tells him to take a bath. While that happens, she falls asleep, and the senpai, when he finishes, slowly approaches, and she sees how his hand approaches, but is only to cover her, and he leaves. So Douki gets up to tell her that she will take a bath too. So she does and puts on red clothes to get her senpai's attention. So she goes out and tells him they should sleep since they have to work early. That is, she practically invited him to bed. But in the end, nothing happened. The next day, Douki is complaining because she planned everything and there was no success. Back in the city, she was dreaming that senpai was doing things with her. And this confirms that she is crazy in love with senpai. Days go by, and now in the office, Douki is with her senpai. She remembers the other night they spent together and feels that her senpai doesn't even see her as a candidate for a couple, even though he always treats her kindly. Then they go to a meeting, but the elevator stops due to an emergency and the electricity goes out and they are locked in. Luckily, the emergency light turns on and the senpai, who from now on we will call Rocky Balboa, calls the emergency number, and she sees that he takes the situation very calmly, and this new attitude makes her fall in love with him even more. But time passes and no one arrives, so she decides to smuggle up from the cold with Rocky, and this makes the succulence begin. But again, it was just a dream of Douki. But then the elevator moves again and she wakes up to wipe the drool off her face. But Douki-chan arrives and takes Rocky away since she is more adventurous and says goodbye to Douki with a malicious smile. Now we see that Douki is preparing a chocolate for February 14th, but her cat spoils her plans. Days go by and Valentine's Day finally arrived and she already has the chocolate for Rocky, so Douki decides to give it to him after work. But just then the husband stealer Douki-chan arrives. From now on we will call her Carmela, and she gives aphrodisiac chocolates to Rocky in front of Douki, and she just wants to eliminate her with her gaze. Time goes by and Carmela is looking at Rocky while she works, and this makes our protagonist uncomfortable. So she leaves, but she hears how Carmela asks Rocky out and he tells her that he is available all night, and Douki just stays watching how they take his love. So she goes home with her chocolates and defeated, but she runs into Rocky and Carmela, so they enter the same restaurant to gossip. And then we see how Carmela asks Rocky if there is someone he likes, but he realizes that Douki is nearby and gets nervous. After a while, a plate arrives for Douki, but she didn't ask for it. The waitress tells her that she sent it to Rocky's table, and she turns to look and they had already left, so she stayed drinking and sad. On the other hand, we see that Rocky sent Carmela alone on the train, and to get out of it, he told her that he forgot something at the restaurant and ran away while she said that sooner or later he will be hers. He arrives to pick up Douki, who fell asleep from drinking too much, so he puts her on his back and starts walking through the city. She wakes up to see that it's Rocky and smiles with happiness. Then we see that Douki is with Rocky on the train and he wakes her up, so she gets off at her stop and they start to say goodbye. But she wants to tell him something, but it's too late and the train is about to leave. Douki is about to declare his love to Rocky, but he doesn't dare, so he just gives her his Valentine's chocolates. More days go by and Carmela sent a photo to Rocky, and Douki sees this and complains because she is on her overtime while he writes to a rookie. A month goes by and tradition says that on March 14th, the men who receive a chocolate have to return the gift to the girls. But that day, Rocky will be late to the office, so Douki stays working all day to wait for him, but is already late and he leaves. But just as he crosses paths with him in the elevator and he gives him some chocolates, and Carmela also arrives to ask for a little gift, so Rocky gives her hers, and that infuriates Douki. Already at home, she realizes that they are very pretty cookies, so she decides to dress as a maid and take some photos with the gift that Rocky gave her. But she does not want to send it, so while she thinks her cat touches the screen, the photo is sent, and it is seen by Rocky. Douki is frozen, so out of embarrassment, she does not go to work. But this is taken advantage of by Carmela, who tells Rocky that she is learning to cook and that she wants to go to his house to cook for him. And then we see that Carmela gives herself to Rocky, but all this was a dream of Douki, so she decides to go to work. Douki meets Rocky and is very embarrassed to see him and runs away. Then we see how she is practicing to tell Rocky that the photo he sent her was a mistake, but in the end, she better decides to be direct before Carmela steals it from her. So the days go by and Douki takes courage and tells Rocky that after a work meeting they have scheduled, she wants to go to dinner with him and talk about an important subject, so he accepts her and she thinks that she will finally have a relationship with Rocky. But before the meeting arrives, an acquaintance of Rocky arrives, which tells him that they have not seen each other since university, and that the last time they saw each other, she fell asleep at his house. We will call her Rosie. She flirts with him and makes Rocky a little nervous, and Douki gets worried. After their meeting, they say goodbye, but Rosie tells Rocky to go get a drink for the reunion, but Rocky tells her that he had already arranged to meet Douki at a dinner. Even so, Rosie joins and they all go together and ruin Douki's plan. On the way to dinner, Carmela saw the group from afar and joined, and at dinner she gave a gift to Douki, and she doesn't want to lose to Rosie since she feels that she wants to stay with Rocky, and this makes the atmosphere feel tense. But at the exit, they are the best friends and Douki doesn't know why they get along. Rocky takes Douki to another place and they arrive at a dark alley. Rocky apologizes for not rejecting Rosie and Carmela. Douki tells her not to worry, so Rocky asks her if she will tell him that important thing that she told him at work. Douki gets very nervous and they end up telling her that she doesn't remember what it was. Rocky understands and tells her to tell him what she remembers, so she decides to go back with the others. At that moment, Douki stops him and tells him that he already knows what he's going to say and he is going to declare himself. But then Douki's bag starts ringing, and it was because Carmela had left her phone there, and just then he arrives accompanied by Rosie, and this ruins Douki's plan. So they went to another restaurant, and she thinks that since Rocky was interested and took her alone, she considers that as a victory. But at the end of the night, Rosie takes Rocky asleep and takes advantage of him. But for a change, it was another of Douki's dreams. She wakes up and is scared of being without clothes, but right there she feels the presence of someone, and she thinks that her night ended succulently with Rocky. So she takes off the sheet, and it was Carmela, who was without clothes. Then she tells her that when they got to her house, Douki drank water but spit it out, so they took off her clothes so she wouldn't catch a cold. The thing is that Rocky wrote to Douki, telling him that Carmela drinks like a bricklayer, and she took everyone to her house because they were all already drunk. Days go by and Rosie gives Rocky tickets to a hotel pool, and they are for 2 people, so she tells him to bring Douki, and she accepts without thinking, so as not to lose the opportunity. The day arrives and we see Douki looking very beautiful in a bikini, but Rosie and Carmela also arrive more provocative than ever. Douki wonders why they are here, and Rosie tells her that she just wanted company and that Carmela joined at the last minute. So Douki thinks that it was not the date she expected, and after a while she is sitting alone with Rocky, and Douki tells her that she bought that swimsuit especially for that day and that she at least wants a compliment from her. But he just stares without saying anything, so she ends up hitting him with a ball. The others see him and think that they are like children. While Douki is already at home, Rocky writes her a message telling her that the bikini looked great on her, and this makes our protagonist happy since she thinks that there is still hope. Days go by and Douki is at a wedding and imagines that she is getting married to Rocky and that she beat Carmela, and he is right next to her, and notices that she is very beautiful. At the wedding, they start to throw the bouquet and Carmela falls on Douki when trying to grab the bouquet, but Douki still takes the bouquet, but a girl next to her starts to cry, so she gives it to him. Later, Carmela got drunk and was bothering Rocky to carry her, so Douki sends a bunch of rookies from the company to take her home. Then Douki comes out of the bathroom and comes across 2 intoxicated boys who start flirting with her, and it gets very intense. And right there, Rocky was passing by and saw Douki's uncomfortable face, so he approached her, took her by the hand and told the others that she is his girlfriend and took her away. That act left Douki more in love. Then Rocky gave her a petal from the bouquet of roses that he caught, so while they were walking, Douki wants to declare his love to her, and Rocky doesn't see where he is going and runs into Carmela and falls on top of her, and again they ruined Douki's moment. Time passes, and while she is lamenting, Rosie appears and tells her that romance has its bumps and adds that she was invited by Carmela. So she appears and gives her her costume so they can do a little show at the wedding. So they start and do a dance dressed as maids, while in the audience, Rosie asks Rocky if she looks beautiful, referring to Douki, and he says yes, and to finish, they take a group photo that Douki takes home and ends by saying that she has another day to strive. The next day, Douki is with Carmela and Rosie at the hot springs, and Carmela starts groping Douki's forehead and they start playing like friends. But Rosie wants to join in, so they give each other a 3-way hug, and this embarrasses Douki and he leaves, and Rosie is left alone with Carmela. Later at dinner, Rosie asks Rocky who had the best swimsuit at the pool the other day, and he looks at Douki, and she gets excited because she thinks he chose her. But Carmela sends Rocky a picture so he can decide for her, so Douki takes the cell phone and deletes her messages and gives it back to Rocky. Then the girls force Rocky to take them home, leaving Douki alone. And that's how this anime ends.